With our installation files in place, MySQL database is created, and the PHP settings set, it's now time to install your open source applications. That's WordPress, Joomla, and Moodle. We're first going to do double checks to make sure that we have everything set up before we perform the install. Then we're going to go through the installation process for each app, connecting the database name, user, and password to get everything finished up. So let's do this. So now we're in probably the fastest part of this whole process now that we've done all of our preparation, and that's to install the actual applications. I'm first starting here with Joomla, and I just want to go through a series of checks just to make sure that we've done everything correctly. The first one here is that we're in the right account. I have my public HTML folder and a Joomla folder and everything that's been extracted there. I have a Joomla database for my app and a Joomla database user that has been assigned to that database. In my PHP manager, I have the correct PHP version, and I've made the adjustments to the PHP INA file. And lastly, the document root for our default domain is being pathed to that Joomla directory. Now, if we go over to the main SPanel dashboard, we're going to see our main domain name, our temporary one that we've set up here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that and paste that into a new browser. And if everything has been done correctly up until this point, then we're going to be taken to the Joomla installation page. So the first thing I need to do is give my Joomla site a name, my Joomla site, okay? And then let's go ahead and click the next button. So I need to create my super user admin credentials. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my real name here, and then my username, and then a password for that account, and then an email. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and click forward. We're now going to be setting the database configuration for our Joomla site. So the first field here is the database type. You're going to want to stick with the MySQL. And then here, you're going to want to keep the default local host. That just means that it's being installed locally on your server. Here, you're going to need to put in the username, the password that you have set up for your database, the database name, and then the last one here is a table prefix. This is randomly generated when you install Joomla. It really doesn't matter what this prefix is, so you can just keep it the way it is. So to get our username, password, and the database name, we need to go back to our SPanel, and you can see here that this right here is the database name. It has the prefix of the user that we had created, and then we got to name the database, and this is altogether the actual name. So let's go ahead and copy that in there. And then our database user right here, let's go ahead and copy that and put it in here as our username. And then let's go ahead and type in our password. So that was pretty fast. Joomla is installed, and if there were any errors that have to do with our PHP configuration, our server, then they would be displayed here. We don't have any, so we're good to visit our front end of our site, which is this button, or the back end of our site. So let's go ahead and visit the front end. So here is the front end of our Joomla site. You can see that there's nothing there, and it's using the default template. So if we wanted to access the back end of the site to be able to create pages and articles and things like that, we'd have to go up to this URL and type administrator. And then in the administrative back end, I'm going to go ahead and put in my username and my password and log in. So here in Joomla, we have all of our menus here, our content menu where we can create articles and categories and custom fields for that content. We also have our menus, all the components that we would install as extensions will show up here, our user menu, and the backend system information that we would use regularly to install plugins and manage the site. Okay, we're ready to install Moodle, and just to do another really quick check, we have our public HTML and our Moodle directory here. We have our database and our database user has been assigned. We have the correct document root here, and in PHP Manager, we have the right PHP version there. So all we should have to do now is copy this domain, and let's paste it in there. And here is the Moodle installation window. So I'm going to go ahead and click Next. This first field here is the web address. You can see it's grayed out and I can't change it. And that's because this is the URL that we're installing Moodle on. We can change this later when we get an actual domain. So don't worry about that right now. The next one here is the Moodle directory. And this is the correct place. It's going to our account, the public HTML, and the Moodle directory. Now this data directory right here doesn't currently exist. It's something that gets created as part of the installation process for Moodle, and it's going to store all of the user content uploaded by the users of the site. There is a problem here though, and that is that this Moodle data directory cannot be on the same level or be accessible by the internet. So we need to take out this public HTML folder, and so that this Moodle data directory is one level above the public HTML folder. So let's go ahead and click Next. Next, we need to choose the database driver, and the one that we want to choose is MariaDB, and click Next. So here's where we're going to input our database settings so that it can do the install into the database. So the first field here, localhost, we're going to want to keep that the default. That's saying that it's going to install this application on the local server that we're currently accessing. We're going to need the database name, user, password. It's auto-generated a prefix for us, and these last two fields we can just leave empty. So let's go ahead and copy over our database information. So let's grab the database name and let's paste that into there. Let's grab the database user. Let's copy that, and then we're going to paste that into the user. And now we're going to paste in our randomly generated password, and let's click Next. So go ahead and click Continue. Now this page is going to tell you if you've set everything up correctly on the server, if you have the right PHP tools installed, and if you have all of the correct settings. So if you followed along and put in all of the settings that I put in when we were adjusting the PHP settings, then you're going to get no errors here. So let's go ahead and click Continue. All right, so Moodle is installed. It's just going to be asking me for my admin credentials. So I'm going to go ahead and set that up right now. Okay, so once that's been done, let's go ahead and update the profile. And it's going to ask me for the site name. So when that is filled out, I'm going to say save. So that is our site fully installed and set up. So if I go over here to dashboard, then it's going to give me a little bit of a tour, but it's going to have my calendar. And if I go to my courses, of course, I don't have any courses listed here because no courses have been created. If I go into the administrative menu, I have all of the admin options here. So there is our fully functional Moodle site. All right, so now we are going to be installing WordPress. So we're going to do our really quick checks. You can see we have our public HTML folder and our WordPress directory right there. We have our database and our database user. We have our temporary domain, and it's being pathed correctly to that directory. And in the PHP Manager, we are using the right PHP version, and we've made the correct settings for WordPress. All right, so with that set up, I should be able to copy this URL and paste it right here and be able to access our WordPress installation page. Now, the first thing is to pick your language. So we're going to pick English. We're going to go ahead and get started. And this is where we put in our database information, our database name, username, password, the host, and the table prefix. So to get this information, I'm going to go back to SPanel, and I'm going to copy the database name, and I'm going to put that right there. Right here is my database user. I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to put my password in there. We're going to stick with the default local host because that's telling us that it's going to install it on the server that we're currently at right now. And it's going to create for us a table prefix. We're just going to keep the default. And let's go ahead and click submit. So let's run the installation. So let's go ahead and add in the title of the site in our admin credentials. And now we're going to click install. All right, so our WordPress site is installed. So if I want to log in to the back end, all right, you can see we've got our menu on the left-hand side where we manage our posts, our media library, pages, comments, and all of the admin and setting tools that we have over here. Now that we've installed 3 different open source apps on your Scala Hosting Cloud VPS hosting service, I hope that you were able to pick up how much was in common when installing these different applications. You're following the same basic steps on the server, and you need the same kind of information when you install these apps. I hope that you feel empowered and that you go on to install other open source apps with confidence.